of all things in my sight is just as, just as, just as. Turn not away therefrom, if thou desirest me, if thou desirest me. Turn not away therefrom, if thou desirest me. The best beloved of all things in my sight, the best beloved of all things in my sight, the best beloved of all things in my sight is just as, just as, just as, just as.
Thanks very much, Van. I wanted to start today with our first guest from Toronto, Ontario. If I can get him to, or get you to share screen for him as well, Parviz, for Aaron Jensen. I just want to be able to see him. Okay. All right, Aaron, are you there?
I am there. Can you hear me, Jack?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. Yes, good. Okay. First of all, thanks for joining us today, Aaron. I'm going to tell folks just a little bit about you and ask you a couple of questions, but I want to get right to the material that you're presenting and have a chance for people to meet you.
Excellent.
I first met Aaron several years ago when he was singing with a group called Cadence, an a cappella group in Toronto, and then got to know that I got to find out that he worked with another vocal group called Countermeasure, of which he's very involved. But Aaron also has an illustrious career as a singer, as a vocal arranger, as a composer. He writes incredibly beautiful music, and you'll hear a little bit of it today. And then I got to work with him recently, over the last 3 years actually, on a project called the Baha'i Feast and Holy Days Songbook. Aaron did all the vocal arranging on that work, and he's also done written 2 original songs for it, the Day of the Covenant and Feast of Honor. But his arrangements were really such a pleasure to work on, and I want this to focus on something that you won't know about, which is his work with Countermeasure. He's done 2. He's done a recent record called Guest Sessions, which is well-known instrumentalists around the world who've worked with Countermeasure and produced a very unique record. And secondly, he was commissioned to write a piece for the anniversary of Nelson Mandela's birth, which he performed, I think, in Washington, right, Aaron?
Yes, that's right, at the Kennedy Center.
And so he's gonna play that for us as well. So Aaron, I just wanted to ask you a couple of quick questions. I know that we're both Saskatchewan natives. I don't know that anybody in Iran that's watching, or Europe, or anybody else on our call, I don't know if you know where Saskatchewan is, but Aaron and I actually consider it to be the center of the universe. It's a very stable landmass that's in fact very flat in most places. But and Aaron hails from Prince Albert, and I wanted you to tell me a little bit about how you got started in music, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always been interested in a lot of very different things. I grew up singing when I was a wee lad. I would get trotted out to concerts all dressed up, and I'd take part in. I'll share a very quick story with you. There's the thing in called the Kiwanis Music Festival, which is where I really cut my teeth. And in this music festival, there's a lot of very strict rules about. For example, you're not supposed to dress up in fancy. If you're doing a musical theater piece, you're not supposed to dress up in costume. But we signed up so late in the day that we didn't actually read the rules. And so I showed up for my very first concert singing "I'm Late" from Alice in Wonderland in a full top to bottom rabbit costume, and ended the number by singing "I'm late, I'm late, I'm late," jumping in the air and landing in the splits. And the audience was just dumbfounded and didn't know what to do with me. And so that was my illustrious intro to the music career. But I moved to Toronto. I studied composition at York University, and I've spent the last 20 years producing, composing, arranging. I did some work with the TV show Schitt's Creek for the last 5 years. And certainly a lot of the focus of my music has involved vocal music, vocal arts.
Yeah. And what's in terms of the things that you're doing now? I remember when I first heard the beautiful piece that you wrote for the Nelson Mandela anniversary. What's been a core inspiration for you in your work?
There's something that's very intimate and powerful about the human voice. There's something that transcends language and culture and background, and it has been, as much as I have been interested in experimenting and innovating within vocal music, a real solid thread of my creative career has involved community and community building. And this particular group, Countermeasure, is a 13-voice family. Essentially, we have been touring together internationally. We have sung at each other's weddings. We've sung at funerals of parents of members. Like we've really formed something special. And the music that I've created for the group has been the soundtrack to our lives in a lot of ways, and also the family that extends beyond that to our collaborators and to the audiences that we've engaged with.
Well, I don't want to keep people from your music, and so I'd love for you to sort of introduce these next pieces. But I do want to say that it's been an extraordinary experience for me as a composer and pianist to work with you and with Countermeasure. The quality of the work that you do is extraordinary. Everyone in the Baha'i community is going to very much appreciate your arranging and your writing. And I think it will be an amazing thing to have this out for people to hear everywhere. It brings a whole new appreciation of very fine singing, but also just an incredible interest in the work which you've demonstrated. So it's been a real joy, and I thank you for doing all of that. But I'd love for them to hear sort of what you've been doing recently.
For sure. Well, I just want to say it's been an honor to take part in a project that is as important and I imagine will just live on beyond all of us. The pieces that I'm going to share today, both of which the first two are from this Guest Sessions album, which is a bit of a concept album which marries vocal music, a cappella singing with a single solo instrumentalist, and what sort of conversations can be had between a single instrumentalist and the human voice. So the first piece is called Carry Away, and it was inspired by our first tour to Japan. The first line of the song is, we learned the word to say, "I humbly receive," which is the word for any Japanese speakers. I apologize for my pronunciation, but itadakimasu is what is commonly said before a meal. And it's as common as as Bon Appetit, essentially, but it just encapsulated this gentle spirit that we encountered, that before every meal they would say the words, "I humbly receive," which was very much our philosophy and our approach to meeting all of these people. And the music video that you're going to see that accompanies it was created entirely during COVID. It involved members singing in isolation, and the sentiment of the song is really ties to thinking back on better times and the communities that have been built.
We learned the word to say, "I humbly receive." But how could they prepare us for the hand that came when 1,000 perfect strangers' arms opened, or the smallest fingers offered up a bigger grave? Where you go, so must I go. Where you stay, I will stay. Where you rest, I'll follow. Whenever the rain falls, I hear your name, and I remember the way friends, it felt like home again, like a wave of yesterdays crashing to the shores. I close my eyes and I'm carried away. I see temples in your eyes, the ripples in the rivers and the blossoms of the trees. They are records, the treasures of the time we walked together. When I press my head against your chest, your breath becomes the sea. Where you go, so must I go. Where you stay, I will stay. Where you rest, I follow. Whenever the rain falls, I hear your name, and I remember the way friends, it felt like home again, like a wave of yesterdays crashing to the shores. I close my eyes and I'm carried away. I'll follow. You can watch the sunrise on the banks of tomorrow as we rise without fear. Feelings just whenever the rain falls, I hear your name. Whenever the rain falls, whenever the rain falls, I hear your name. Whenever the rain falls, I hear your name. And I remember the way like a wave of yesterdays crashing to the shore. I close my eyes and I'm carried away.
Beautiful. Amazing, Aaron. What,
Thank you very much.
who is the cellist? Would you mind
The
telling us?
cellist, absolutely. The cellist is an Ontarian cellist named Kevin Fox. He's a terrific collaborator. He's played with everyone from Celine Dion to Justin Bieber and all kinds of Canadians, as well as Chantal. Well, I guess those are both Canadians, but Chantal Kreviazuk and Stephen Page and many others. But a terrific player and lovely fellow.
Wonderful, beautiful sound, beautiful video. What's next?
What's next is a tune called Hold On, which I specifically tailor-made for a member of our group, Quinn McLaughlin. And this song is a reflection. This song was entirely inspired by a conversation I had with her. She was expecting her first child and was just reflecting on how one goes about equipping your child with all of the tools that they will require to face the world and all of the troubles within the world. So this is Hold On, and this features Michael Davidson on vibraphone.
I set my mind to a letter and set it backward in time. So when I'm young, I'll know better. Some days I find, oh my, the road is long, and I lose my mind for a place to hide. Hold on to your pride. The fire inside you's got the will to go brighter. Hold on to your heart. Remember the part that puts the life in our life. I got my mind on my daughter, foreseeing forward in time. Will she hold all that we taught her, or will she find, oh my, the road is long, and I lose my mind for a place to hide. Hold on to your pride. The fire inside you's got the will to go brighter. Hold on to your heart. Remember the part that puts the life in a life. Inside, oh my, the road is long, and I lose my mind for a place to hide. Oh my, I keep on trying as time goes on, and I'm finally finding the stride. Hold on to your pride. The fire inside you's got the will to go brighter. Hold on to your heart. Remember that love is what you lean on when you want to survive. Hold on to your pride. Fire inside you's got the will to go brighter. Hold on to your heart. Remember the part that keeps the life in alive.
Beautiful, Aaron. That's a wonderful song. She's an incredible singer. Tell me, how did you meet her?
She was the group Countermeasure formed out of a lot of university contacts. There was, whether at York University or University of Toronto, there were a lot of people who sang together in collegiate groups. And then after they graduated out, they were looking for a new musical family of sorts. And this last year, we celebrated our 10th year together. So she has been with us from day one, and it's been a real integral part of the group.
It's such an amazing family, and I really appreciate even knowing about it, and of course hearing this wonderful music. I wanted to ask you about one other element and have you talk a little bit about it. One of the things that you've done in Toronto, and this is, you know, from our little city in the north, as we call it, one of the things that you've done is an actual kind of rebirth of Jewish liturgical music in Toronto, various temples, various congregations, where you really kind of helped rebuild an interest in and a development of the music for the Jewish community. And, you know, obviously we in the Baha'i community, we're a small community, but we love singing, and we'd love to have more singing. So you and I have had conversations about how we can cultivate more singing. And Van, whom you heard at the beginning, has been doing this his whole Baha'i life and is the director of our Baha'i choir at the National, at the Baha'i Temple in Chicago, the only one in North America. So this is of keen interest to us. And I'm just wondering if you can just give us a couple of tips or a couple of ways that we might, you know, develop this more in our own community.
Yeah, so for context, I was brought in 8 years ago to be the resident artist at Beth Shalom Synagogue in Toronto. And what they were finding was that their congregation was getting older, that a lot of families were leaving and not coming back, and they were trying to engage with a younger audience. And with that level of orthodoxy within that particular Jewish congregation, instruments were not allowed. And so I was called in to sort of breathe new life, I guess, with a lot of checking in with both the rabbi and the cantor, but develop new takes, try to make the traditional seem new in some way and relevant. And we've seen the congregation numbers grow considerably and have just developed this very special relationship with both the congregation and with Rabbi Aaron and Cantor Eric. Mm-hmm. And there is just something that is so special about public and community singing that it's just there is a sharing that takes place when masses sing together that it's unparalleled, and it is not like taking something in passively. You are opening yourself up and sharing in a really meaningful way.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to ask you to help us along the way in encouraging this quality, even in very diverse communities like Toronto. It would be great to have more diversity of music, more singing at our meetings, and hopefully have our community grow in the experience of choral and vocal singing. Please tell us a little bit about this last piece, Aaron.
Absolutely. So as Jack mentioned, Countermeasure was invited to take part in what I believe was the largest celebration of Nelson Mandela's 100th year anniversary in the world. Took place at the Kennedy Center, and there were artists representing from all over the world, from Madagascar and from India and from Czech Republic, they were all over the place. It was an incredible event. And at that time, there was also a lot of turmoil going on in the States. There was a lot of rhetoric. There was a lot of fear. And to have this bastion of hope, all of these people coming together and joining in their voices to celebrate this vision of hope and moving forward and acceptance was just such a life-altering experience for all of us. I was asked to compose a new work for the event, and it was a pretty challenging and piece in that I was asked to write about the truth and reconciliation committee, which is obviously could not be further from my experience. And so my approach as a composer was to take this material and interpret it abstractly. And so this piece has no text. And as you'll see, I try to represent the committee musically. So there is a theme that is introduced, and in the middle part of the song, there's something that's called retrograde, which means taking a melody and literally inverting it. So the idea of having these sentiments, having these injustices or hurts, and through voicing them, trying to undo past wrongs. And then the final section, there's the same theme that's introduced, but with more of a sense of buoyancy and hope brought to it. So this is a piece of music called Long Road to Freedom.
Thank you. Aaron, how extraordinary. What a beautiful, beautiful piece. Wow.
Very much.
Thank you so much for taking part in today, and we look forward to hearing and watching you and all the great things that you'll accomplish. And I'm so delighted that you at least were able to spend some time with us. And also, I'm delighted for you to meet Van, especially. I know that you guys didn't get to meet personally, but I'm sure going to try to make that happen because you share so much in common. The love of
Look
music.
forward to it.
Really wonderful choral capacity. I don't know what else to call it, Van, but that's
yes. You know, I wanted to say something here while Aaron is there. You know, the second piece with the young ladies singing.
Yeah.
You see such an example of what the arts can do. There was no mention of races coming together. There was nothing about having to erase hatred from our minds. But looking at the sweet babies, the loving husband and wife, so much was said. So much was said without being said. And I think we have to have more and more and more of that, where we just can enjoy that we can hear a message and not hear it in a way that is even burdensome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things art can do, you know, in whatever form it is, whether it's music or poetry, even artwork. So I appreciate your work, and especially that a cappella piece at the
end. All right. Thank you very much.
Man, I love that Aaron made a reference to the Jewish church or the Jewish temple being an Orthodox, and so they couldn't have instruments, right? Well, we can't have instruments in the Baha'i temples either. It's all choral a cappella music, and it's just such a challenge, you know, to be able to find unique ways of expression. And I really hope that we'll have lots of collaboration between you and Van in the future.
That would be wonderful.
God bless. Thank you so much, Aaron. Really appreciate it. Jean, passing it back to you.
Well, thank you. Our second artist comes from the East Coast of the United States. Her name is Radiance Talley. And like most artists, she wears many hats, both professionally and artistically. For example, not only has she written over 100 articles for BahaiTeachings.org, but also is currently the search engine optimization editor for both BahaiTeachings.org and One Planet Group. However, today we are meeting Radiance Talley, the poet. Radiance, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Well, let's start off. Let's just jump right into some of your poetry. What would you like to share first?
Okay, the first poem I'd like to share is about ignorance. Abdu'l-Baha said that the greatest cause of disheartenment in the world of humanity is ignorance. And, you know, as you know, ignorance among the privileged demographics of our nation continues to contribute to the suffering and oppression of the marginalized communities in our nation. And when I wrote this poem around 1.5 years ago, after seeing so many Black people being killed by police for doing absolutely nothing and no justice being served, I was appalled and deeply hurt by the silence and indifference of many well-meaning people who justified and made excuses for racial violence and oppression, and even their ignorance. Because, you know, as our writings say, Baha'i should be the defenders of every victim of oppression and the patrons of the disadvantaged. And, you know, after some people in my life became aware of their ignorance, instead of, you know, apologizing for former insensitivity or taking accountability, they just said, it's not my fault, I was ignorant. So that inspired me to write this poem titled Ignorance is a Choice. And for context, I've written hundreds of poems, and many of my poems are in series. So this poem is in a series I wrote called The Island. And the island is a metaphor for my heart, for my love and trust and the need. And the island is a metaphor that illustrates the need that many people of color and women of color and women need for safety. It illustrates the necessary barriers and level of protection, because, you know, in this series, I use the metaphor of being, you know, being a princess in a castle with guards surrounded by a moat on an island to illustrate the necessary barriers and protection people of color need for safety and healing from hate. So without further ado, here's the poem called Ignorance is a Choice. Ignorance is so annoying and odd. So I've resolved to create a woke squad. I'll be waiting on the island. If you're educated, come apply. I want people who are activists, who actually care to try. It's strange that people can say they didn't know and they can learn everything else, but ignore hate crimes each day. They could have educated themselves. Privilege makes ignorance a choice. You're not reminded of your skin, and you're given more of a voice, so news channels have a spin. It's a choice to only surround yourself with whites and not hear about those who are denied their rights. It's a choice to not reflect on your life and wonder why groups always have strife. It's a choice to side with the perpetrators and ignore the victims as if they're haters. It's a choice to be irritated with those who are bleeding and say it's all in the past, so we should not be grieving. It's a choice to avoid guilt and pain, since your life may not require strain. It's a choice to let us keep being attacked. You pretend to wonder why as you sit back. It's a choice to not know the system that you benefit from and think so many Blacks are poor because they are dumb. It's a choice to believe stereotypes that are a lie and not watch live videos of a dying man's cries. It's a choice to believe that you get a pass from knowing our world because of your class. It's a choice to think that you don't need to get involved. Racism has never been our problem to resolve. So I'm looking for people who actually care, who will stand up for us and actually be there. I'm looking for people who care about our plight, who will safeguard and support us to win the fight. Because if you love us, you'll fight for our rights. So I'm no longer wasting time with people who don't care, who don't think there's a problem and thus don't have time to spare. I'm spending time with people who think my life matters, not those who would rather waste their time with vain chatters. If you're riding in a car, you're allowed to go far. You don't have to worry about suddenly dying while your child sees you get shot and starts crying. You don't have to worry if you're holding a toy gun or fear the police will plant drugs on your young son. And it's a privilege to get far less time for any violent or minor crime. And you get to avoid going in the prison system, even if you photograph yourself raping a victim. This privilege is not healthy. It's letting you escape your wrongs, and it makes the innocent pay. The victim list is so long. You don't have to worry about being fodder for prison and keep track of the alt-right incidents that have risen. You don't have to worry about being accepted. And I'm frankly tired of us being rejected. So I'm looking for people who understand what's going on, who are passionate about justice and want to right all the wrongs. I'm looking for people who respect our spirit, who nurture our vision and want to hear it. I'm looking for people who are glad we exist, whose thoughts are not motivated by prejudice. I'm looking for people who care about me, who are helping people of my ethnicity. And it's unfortunate sometimes this is hard to see. It's sad that it's rare for me to find woke peers, but I've become patient from waiting for years. So interested prospects may apply. I'm looking for those who want to try. The island is beautiful and the princess is sweet, but only the devout and committed get a seat. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Radiance. Kind of cathartic. Any more? Thank you. I need to talk to you offline about another program I work with. We need you there. However, is there anything you want more to explore, to talk about that poem in particular before we move on?
Well, I'll just say that, yeah, it is cathartic, and we'll get to this more with your questions, but poetry, it's definitely very healing for me, and it makes, and when you write, you talk about serious topics through the arts, people, I think, they feel more, they empathize more, and they receive your message more.
Thank you. I saw in your biography that you have 2 full books of poetry ready to go, and you're looking for a publisher. I think I know somebody, at least I hope so. I'd love to be able to help. So that was from one book, shall we say, or is it? Or
Yeah.
the island is kind of the one set. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and they still need to get ready yet. They're not published or anything, and I keep writing and I keep writing things that I can add to each book. So
I've had conversations with visual artists, and I hear you're a visual artist as well. And how do you decide this is done, this is complete as an artist? It can be a tricky goal to hit.
How do I decide when a poem is complete?
Yes, for example, let's ask you that.
Well, when I feel relieved, poetry has always been my therapy. It's been a witness of my journey, my stories, my reflections, my experiences. It's a source of healing, and whenever I feel upset or angered or saddened or frustrated or isolated or depressed, I just write until the pain in my heart is gone, So, and yeah, it's like a feeling, you just know it's finished, The Baha'i writings say that that all art is a gift of the Holy Spirit. When that light of this Holy Spirit shines to the mind of a poet, it's seen in fine poetry and poetic prose, and I definitely feel that. I'm very inspired, the words just flood into my head, and then I rush to write them all down.
Yes, it's like you have to grab them quick before.
Yes.
And then it feels like a gift.
It is. I definitely see it that way.
Definitely a bounty. What else? What other things in the Baha'i writings, for example, inspire your creative process? Any?
Yeah, well, it's wonderful that in this day, art is worshipped. When the Bab said, treasures lie hidden beneath the throne of God, and the key to those treasures is the tongue of poets. And when you hear quotes like that, it's pretty powerful when you think about it. you hear quotes like that and about how, poetry, stirs the heart more deeply. And when thy fingertips grasp the paintbrush, as if thou had said prayers in the temple, that's amazing that in this day, art is worship. And when we're putting the pain in our hearts, and as I say, creating beauty from pain for other people to enlighten or inspire, educate other people, and connect to other people's hearts, it definitely feels like a gift.
An experiential gift for the artists themselves. So that makes me think about with poetry in particular, it is linked to a particular language. And so to help all the people whose first language might be something else, what could you offer as a way to, in general, help Baha'is encourage the writers that they encounter, whether in their community or whatever? How do we encourage and support our writers to partake in this gift?
Yeah, well,
any suggestions, please?
Well, one way to encourage writers is to, read what they write,
Oh.
Share it with your platforms, support them, buy their books if you have them, invite them to speak, it really show that you value what they have to say and support them in any way that they need.
Excellent. Thank you. One last thing, and then we want to hear a little bit more. Is there anything you'd like people to know about your work with BahaiTeachings.org today? And no is a perfectly good answer.
Well, I'm a writer for BahaiTeachings.org and also an SEO editor. And as you said, I've written over 100 articles for them on a variety of topics, ranging from, race, women's equality, mental health, spirituality, life. I mean, you name it, everything, it's all there. So if you want to check it out, go to BahaiTeachings.org and search for me.
And my shout out for that is for our Sunday morning group and its prayers. And then we, in general, if somebody wants to prepare a presentation, that's great. But our default is go to BahaiTeachings.org, grab an article, read it and discuss it together. And so you're having quite an influence, at least in my life, because you write good.
Oh.
Could you please offer another poem, and then we can move on?
All right. And thank you for the encouragement and feedback. We really appreciate that.
Really, oh gosh, I'm tearing up again. Just
okay.
Let's hear you another.
All right. Yeah, so the next poem I'm going to share is, I wrote this when I was in high school, and I was 15 at the time. And I was really inspired by the story of Layli and Majnun in the Seven Valleys. And I was so just moved and touched by the Baha'u'llah's quote when he said, without patience, the wayfarer on his journey can reach nowhere and attain no goal. And I've always loved the quote about, as you have faith, so shall the powers and blessings be. And I thought the thread of search and patience and faith was illustrated in that beautifully in the story of Layli and Majnun. And I wrote my own poem that is my own version of that story. And then I wrote a sort of reflection poem about what I took out of it after that. So I'll share both of those. So, there once were two people that loved each other very much, but the girl's parents didn't like him and their courting and such. So they sent that poor boy extremely far away, so the girl would never see him. She had absolutely no say. And she prayed and she begged to the Lord every day, praying for his safety and return as he lay in that old, dark, dank, cold jail, where he was badly mistreated and called names to the rails. Oh, please let me see her, the mighty wind in my sails. And he prayed and he begged with great fervency each night. Oh, please let me see her. I know she's all right. And he prayed and he begged with every ounce of his might. Oh, Lord, please bring me to my true love tonight. The boy, now man, sat in that prison for years. Then one day he couldn't believe what he saw through his tears. The door to his cell stood ajar. He hesitated in shock, but started to run very far. Soon big guards with guns were on his tail. Oh, why would you do this? As he started to pale. Darn you, God, all this just to fail? And to think I thought, God, that you were so just. And he climbed over a wall that had started to rust. And he fell near a woman who knelt praying with trust. I'm dreaming, he said. This can't be true. My love, she asked, is this really you? And he pulled her in his arms for the longest embrace and said, thanks to God for such wonderful grace. You've all heard the story about the two people in love and how it almost resulted in the man losing faith in the God above. The moral of the story is never give up and always have trust, always have faith in yourself and that God is just. Don't let despair bring you down into the dust. I know sometimes it's hard and you have a right to make a big fuss, but don't let those evils sully your tongue and cuss. You have to have unwavering faith, you must. That man had no idea that he was almost there. What if he had dropped in defeat and said, God doesn't care? He would have missed out on what he always wanted because he thought God wasn't fair. And don't mirage your soul and listen when someone has something bad about someone to share. Some people and events in life are just full of poo. But if you keep searching, you may find what you've always wanted is right in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a treat. And I hope we can keep in touch.
Of course.
Any closing words, or we'll move on to our next artist?
Before we leave Radiance,
Yeah. Yes.
let me say something here. I'm feeling proud, and I almost have no reason to feel proud, except I've known Radiance from baby to now. And I also know that her mother is here, and her mother must be proud.
Is that Barbara? Is this Barbara's daughter?
Yes.
Oh
It's
my
Barbara's
God, my friend Barbara Talley. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. You know,
And so I wanted to also explore just shortly, Radiance, at what point did you feel the spirit of Barbara in you to become a poet? Because I know that Barbara's a poet.
Yeah.
And how far back did that start?
Well, I grew up, I was always a creative writer growing up. And I definitely would not be a poet without my mother's influence and example. And I grew up writing songs, writing stories, writing some poems, but I didn't really see myself as a poet until high school, when I went through a depression from a lot of racism I was experiencing. And my mother told me, you need to write it out in order to heal. And I wrote it out. I've been writing regularly since then. And that's the story in a nutshell.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
I think your middle name should be Brilliant, Spiritual, Beautiful, just as beautiful as your mother. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yes. Thank you so much, Radiance. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime, welcome.
Mhm.
And now, Van, you're up next, I believe, to introduce our next.
You're muted. Van,
Yeah,
unmute.
I'm up next to do what? Tell me what it is.
We're our next artist. Do you?
Okay. I don't know our next artist, but I am very happy to hear him. And as we started, I had a chance to hear him tuning up. And wow.
Yes, I wanted to mention that we are blessed to have our friend from Canada. His name is Mr. Saeed Faruqi. He's a great multi-instrumental, and he was gracious enough to maybe give us some of the videos that I have and play a few either on the flute or harp or santur. And Celtic music is one of his favorites. Please go ahead, Van.
Oh, how did that happen? Is it the Persian influence? What was it that took you to the strings, the beautiful strings?
In fact, I was trained as a flute player when I was in Iran. But gradually I went to the santur. I started to play santur, and when I came to Canada, I started to get attracted to the harp. From childhood, I wanted to play the harp. I remember once when I was at music school, and I saw a beautiful lady was playing the large harp, and so I went to my father. My father used to teach in the same school. I asked him, I want one of those harp, and he said, "Do you know how much is that harp?" I said, "I don't care. I want that harp." He said it was $70,000. And so, and he said, no more talking. It was beautiful. And so that's it. That thing was stuck in my mind, that harp. So when I came to Canada, about 4 years ago, I investigated around, and so I bought the small Celtic harp, and then I bought the larger harp. Then gradually ended up that I had a 7 harp in my living room. And my wife said, one more harp, you're out. So I knew that no more harp. So that's why I started to, and then I started to play lots of Celtic music and the Gaelic music, and play the weddings, conventions, and gradually I added to the production, many productions which we had in Baha'i production. So that's the story of the harp.
Tell us just a little about the harp. Is the harp much like piano strings?
Almost, yeah, more or less like a piano. Yeah, it has a little bit.
But you're playing them with the fingers instead of with keys.
Yes, plucking.
Yes, yeah.
Piano, you play at you hit on the keys, but on the harp you pluck the strings. When you pluck it, sound comes. So that's why they call it. When you pluck it, all the nerves which is in your tip of your fingers gradually goes to your harp, to your harp, and that's why I say the harpists, they get tired right away once they start to play because of all those touching the strings. So it make them exhausted. Then you play for a long time. So it's the nature of the harp.
So what will you play for us today?
Let me play something, and I never get to prepare myself to play. I always go randomly with the musical instrument, and I start to play, and hopefully something comes up for me. Let's see. Allahumma ya Subbuhun ya Quddus ya Hannanu ya Mannan. Allahumma ya Subbuhun ya Quddus ya Hannanu ya Mannan. Farij lana bil fazl wal ihsan. إنك رحمن منان إنك رحمن منان. Allahumma ya Subbuhun ya Quddus ya Hannanu ya Mannan. Allahumma ya Subbuhun ya Quddus ya Hannanu ya Mannan. Farij lana min fazl wal ihsan. إنك رحمن منان إنك رحمن منان.
I wanted to sing Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
You have a video with you as well? Do you,
Unfortunately, I thought that
okay, all right.
I don't have it.
All right.
But it's
So
nice to play it.
I was given several of them. Is there a particular one you were hoping for? I have.
I thought maybe could you play flute or santur maybe, Saeed Jam?
Let me play the little bit of the santur. Hopefully,
ah,
I don't know. You see the santur or not? I don't think you see the santur. I'll play it here. Hopefully, you see some of it. Oh.
did you say medium? Did you say medium Santur?
No, this is I have a Hamid Dulcimer, which is the bigger one, Hamid Dulcimer, and then I have a Persian santur, which is the. I'll show you this. This is the santur. And this is the normal santur, which is usually the player.
I see.
Let me play. Santur is the one that I started from childhood. Then about 12 years ago, we started to do the production. First, we did the Vision of Baha'u'llah, which we had in Neptune Theater here, and then we had the Life of Baha'u'llah, which I included all my musical instruments. Then gradually we did the Life of Bab, and at the present we're doing the Life of Abdul Baha through the Juliet Thompson, Loa Getzinger, and May Baxter. And the last project I'm working on is Tahir, Life of Tahir, which is worked about 3 years. And so I put I composed many music for this production. So the music which I'm playing, it doesn't relate to any of the music which I composed for the productions. But it's a mixture of the music. I play a little bit of the santur for you, and anyway. this piece of music was the first one was the Irish music. The second one was more like toward the Scotland music.
Yes.
And so I'll play one more music on the Santur. This one is based on the prayer of the Bob, which is the remover of difficulties. And of course, we did it about 3 years ago in the concert. It was was Bertha Pahaula. And the Gaelic singer sang it in Gaelic poetry, and I sang it in the prayer of the Bob. So it's written many years ago. It's called "She Moves Through the Fair." Is there a needing over difficulty? Is there a needing over difficulties? Save God, save, praise be God. He is God and our His servant, and all abide by His Is there a name over difficulty? Is there a name over difficulties? Say God, say praise be God. He is God, Lord, His servant, and all abide by His will.
Beautiful, Saeed.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Most of
Awesome, awesome. Can you also do a flute by any chance?
Yeah, sure. Let me see what I could play on the flute. The problem is that when you play the different musical instrument, you get from the suppose the Celtic piece to the Persian piece, the music, it makes a little bit confusing for the musician. So it takes a little bit time to adjust yourself to the different set of the music. But anyway, let me see what I could play on flute. Let me do it with an Irish flute. My lips little bit is not adjusting to my classical. So this one is just a strictly Irish music. Usually I play in different orchestra. So we have one Irish groups that I play usually with them Irish music, and then we have another group that they play the portion of the symphony, which I play mostly flute with them, and occasionally I play santur with them. But the main of my work past, I would say 10 years, is the production. So I work on production, so this production is we toured all over the Maritime, and we went to Toronto, and even we went to Vancouver once. And this production base at the present is both production of the Baha'u'llah we're doing. But the production of the Tahari is the one that I work very hard on it. And there is a painter, Debbie Mosier. She is painting whole life of the Tahari. So when the people are looking, seeing the play, and these all the entire life of the Tahari is painting. So it's about close to 100 paintings she's doing. So this is the one that we are very excited that we are hoping to make the gallery of the Tahari, and then is almost like a video editing on YouTube that we will distribute it through the media, and this life of Tahari.
As I listened to you playing that flute, one of the things that came to my mind was how music sets the heart and the spirit ready to hear Radiance saying her poetry. And somehow it just kept running through my mind as I was listening to the flute playing. How it got me ready. Now, Radiance, hit me. Thank you all so much, though. Thank you all.
Most of
Who's still here? Jack, Jean, Parviz.
Yes, I'm just really so appreciative of Saeed and the diversity of your playing, and also Radiance, to hear those amazing poems, very inspiring. Thank you so much for that. God bless your work. And Aaron, I don't know if you're still with us, but it was just wonderful to hear your music, and as Van said, that inspiring song, Hold On, I really loved it. I'm not sure if we have time, Parviz, if anyone else wants to sing a song. Jean, do you have one that you'd like to play?
Yes, I do. Tonight we, of course, celebrate that holy day that began all of this faith.
All of this, yes.
And I bring it up because with those what we've heard today, particularly countermeasure, and these ideas of having people sing and creating these produced things. To get good choirs, we have to have excellent professional vocals, requires having good choirs, and to have good choirs requires mediocre choirs so that cream can rise to the top. And to have even mediocre choirs, we have to have everybody sing. So I try and get everyone to sing. And the joke with this song is if you memorize the words to this song, you never have to read the first 6 chapters of the Dawnbreakers ever again. And you'll catch on to the chorus. Some scholars of Islam looked for the 12th Imam. Their leader was a lovely man. They called him Sheikh Ahmad. And when he passed away, well then, The cause was led by Syed Kazem. He was looking for the one who was that hidden gem. Now a shepherd dreamed and told Syed Kazem that his life was soon to end. Some 3 days hence he'd pass away, and the real search could begin. Most followers they could not part, leaving Mullah Hussein alone to start. He was looking for the one that was his heart of hearts. Someone would say, I declare, we've got some answers to the world's despair. It's the start of a new age and a new time. It's the start of building the world sublime. If you go through the gate and say, I declare, well, Mullah Hussein left Karbala 40 days to fast and pray. His brother and his nephew, well, they both did the same. They prepared themselves to go on and on, but were pulled like a magnet toward Shiraz, still hoping to find the one who would say, I am the one. Well, a youth met him by the city gates while the others pressed ahead. He emanated radiance. A green turban was on his head. He brought our friend back to his home, to a room for them and them alone. 2 hours or so after sunset, the truth was finally known. Now I wasn't there and I didn't hear, but he might have said something like, I declare, we've got some answers to the world's despair. It's the start of a new age and a new time. It's the start of building the world sublime. If you go through the gate and say, I declare, well, Mullah Hussein stared at the Bab. A test was on his mind to explain the chapter of Joseph in the Quran, the book divine. Without a hint, the Bab wrote and sang to elucidate each verse and phrase. Praying till the morning lit the haze, Mullah Hussein seemed dazed, but they wanted to get up and saying, I declare, we've got some answers to the world's despair. It's the start of a new age and a new time. It's the start of building the world sublime. If you go through the gate and say, I declare, well, the secret stayed with Mullah Hussein till 17 others believed that the Bab had come to clear the way, the world's ills to relieve. Qudus, Kitab, and Tahrir, each gave a life in their own way, all because they came to know and had to say, I declare, we've got the answers to the world's despair. It's the start of a new age and a new time. It's the start of building the world sublime. If you go through the gate and say, I declare, well, now you know the story of the search for the gate. May 23rd, 1844, no longer must we wait. God's kingdom now is in our grasp. May our hearts be pure and stay steadfast. Oh, one thing for sure I have to say, he was not the last. So I'll sing, I declare, we've got some answers to the world's despair. It's the start of a new age and a new time. It's the start of building the world sublime. If you go through the gate and say, I declare, now you sing, I declare. I can't hear a word. Got some answers to the world's despair. It's the start of a new age and a new time. It's the start of building the world sublime. If you go through the gate and say,
Doop, doop, doop.
Yes. So, hey, first 6 chapters, all done.
Very good.
Beautiful.
Very good.
Thank you, Jean. I'm going to ask if Van, do you want to sing anything else?
No, I don't want to prolong the show.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. And I thank you as well for, especially Jean, for putting all this information together and for doing all the invites and for keeping us all together. We really appreciate you. And I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
If you have any, here are opportunities for you to contact people. If you need to, you can see Aaron is graciously just concentrating on his group countermeasure this week. So you look them up, and they're wonderful videos to be found on YouTube. Radiance is all over, and these are her personal ones. And of course, you can explore her writings on BahaiTeachings.org. And if you would like to contact Saeed Foroughi, here is his email. I will also put them in the chat.
Yes, I wanted to thank everyone joining us, the participants, and also thank Beautiful Radiance did a fantastic job. My friend Barbara Talley did an unbelievable job with this beautiful daughter. And also Arun did a fantastic job. Thank you, Saeed-Jan. I know it was last minute and did wonderful pieces from different instruments. We are blessed to have everyone here every other week. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, the same time, Saturdays at 12 California time zone. And the Zoom ID is always the same. And hopefully you can join us and bring friends. We wanted to thank our friends from El Salvador, from Peru, from Chile, near the temple. We have, I guess, participants from there that are welcome. And from Europe, we have people from Italy and Germany. Thank you all for being here. It was fantastic.
Hey, Parviz,
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I do have a video to close out with. People can just leave while the video is playing, but it's a new one. You may have already seen it, but if I can share, I'll put it up.
Yes, of course. Great.
All right.
Thank you, Van. Beautiful.
Yeah, maybe after that, if people want to stick around and have some questions, we can open it up for chatting.
Van, you will have to stop it and reshare it and make sure you click audio.
Okay.
Audio, yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What has to do? What has to happen?
You unshare it first.
Okay. Unshare it.
And then when you reshare it, click in the lower.
Oh, yes. I clicked those boxes. Oh, God, yes.
That box will stay clicked.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we know that? I should know that by now.
I forget them all the time too.
Yeah, it's not that, Van. It's just
Let me go out.
you do so much already. Like, why should you have to learn how to do this?
All right, let me try this again.
Songwriter, technologist,
Let me find share.
choir
Share.
director.
I didn't even think to click the boxes. So here we go.
Beautiful. Thank you.
O Son of Being, O Son of Being. that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. Know this, O servant. Know this, O servant. I give up on hate. 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 Won't you love me? Love me that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. Won't you love me? Love me that I may love me that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. Know this, oh servant, know this, oh servant, know this, oh servant, oh servant. I give up on hate. 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 Won't you love me? Love me that I may love me that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. Won't you love me? Love me that I may love me that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. Know this, oh servant, on hate.
Thank you, Van. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Fantastic. We love it. I have downloaded and I'm sure we can share it later on too. Great job. Yes.
Yeah.
Would you like to maybe open up to see if people can raise their hand for questions or issues that they may want to talk? You are muted, Jean.
Can we just open up chat and have them send their questions there or comments?
Okay.
I know they're dying to type.
Okay, yeah, chat is open. I think one person had a question. Let me unmute. Mr. Tahiri has a question. I think he's from London. Yes, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello. It was a lovely time. Anyway, is there any chance I can have prayer at the end of that?
Yes.
What do you mean? A prayer at the end of the program?
End of the program, or either now or either end of the program.
Yeah, we can talk with the group and committee and go over those issues because this is a musical. So as soon as we take messages or we take your suggestions, we will take it back to the committee and see how we will do the beginning at the end of the program, of course.
I have got a question. Is there any chance, because there was a very I love singing and I do sometimes singing in my in the Baha'i Corps activity or something like that, but I need some help with someone like for example Mr. Van. Is there any chance, Mr. Van, you can help me? I want to share it with you with the singing and something like that.
Yes.
So, Mr. Tahiri, maybe you can send the email. You have my email, peter.qasemi, everybody has my email, and then I'll forward your request and I will forward it to Van Gilmer for following up with you.
Van Gilmer has got my Facebook as well.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I'm sure he can follow up. Thank you so much.
In the Facebook time.
Yes,
Okay.
all right.
Great.
Is
Thank you so
okay?
much.
I'll contact you.
Okay. If there is no other questions, maybe I can just people can unmute themselves if they like to say a few words and thanking all the artists and performers would be nice. Other than that, we can say.
My name is Saeed, and I just wanted to say, I wrote it in the chat as well, that when you have such a beautiful, perfect combination of artists, it leaves you with no question. This is just an absolute pleasure to be watching this program. I'm glad that it's being recorded. Sections of these, I'm going to use it. And I'm sure everybody who's been here, the word will get out and they'll start. I'm going to recommend this particular one. Really was amazing. Thank you very, very much.
Sure. We are blessed to be able to find our artists and contact them and bring them to this program. We are looking forward to having more of the young people or any of the artists hopefully do group as the pandemic slows down and as people can get together. Maybe you can have groups singing and performing together as much as possible.
I think I want to thank Saeed Yazdanmar for proposing that we learn about Saeed, our friend in Atlantic Canada. I was really moved by his performance as well today. And anyone that has any suggestions about people that we're missing or people that we could be interviewing or hearing about their artistic work, one of our purposes, not just to try to explore the capacity and power of the arts to inspire our communities, but also to help the Baha'i community identify new talent and people who are in our midst that we don't know about. And I think we've already found some beautiful gems, wouldn't you say, Van and Jean and Parviz? And I hope that we'll find many more.
Yes, everybody is welcome to send me a suggestion about new performers that you know in your community. I had a call from a lady in Italy saying they know a young man that wants to. I said, great, please send me the information. So you have my email address, peter.gassimi@gmail.com, and we will consult with the committee and see who can be on the next programs. And everyone is welcomed. Yes, for sure. I'm going to stop the recording.